Hey everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Legacy presented by Spellhold Games. I'm Eugene, and we're getting right into round 2 here from January 18th. Unfortunately, we did have a little bit of technical difficulty. We lost the first 2 matches, so please enjoy match 3 of Elves versus Ninjas. We do have Ninjas Pedro back here on Ninjas in the second round. So he is going to start out the game with that Retrofitter Foundry. This is a great card for Ninjas, trying to get those servos into play so he can cheat the Ninjas into play with ninjutsu. Now, the only problem for Pedro is that because Ninjas is more of a tempo style deck, it can deal with one-off threats, but it cannot deal with a ton at once, which is exactly what Elves loves to do. Luis starting the game with a Once Upon a Time, checking the top 5 cards of his library, revealing a Verdant Catacombs, trying to cast a Green Sun Zenith. This is going to get him a card from his deck of converted mana cost X or less, but unfortunately it was countered with Daze. So we are on to turn 2 here. Let's see here. Going for a second Green Sun Zenith. So because Green Sun Zenith does cost 1 and X, X is going to be 0, converted mana cost 0, which he can grab a creature, converted mana cost 0, which is Dryad Arbor. It is a 1/1, but also considered a land. With that other mana, he's actually going to cast Allosaur Shepherd, one of the new win conditions for Elves. You can see here that not only can his green spells no longer be countered, but he can pay 6 mana to turn each elf he has into a 5/5 and a dinosaur in addition to its other types. The dinosaur not super important, but changing all of those base stats from 1/1s into 5/5s is pretty big. All right, we're going to see an Elvish Reclaimer here, another 1-drop. This is a 1/2. If there are 3 lands in the grave, then it gets +2/+2. But the super important ability here is he can pay 2 and sacrifice a land to get any other land into play out of his deck. Kind of like a crop rotation for 1 more mana, but colorless. All right, we're seeing another Green Sun Zenith here for a second Dryad Arbor. So that's 3 Green Sun Zeniths. Quite a few plays. It does get shuffled back into the deck once it is actually cast. So the one that got countered went to the graveyard, but the other 2 have been shuffled back in. So you constantly get value from Green Sun Zenith, maybe seeing it more than 4 times a game. All right, Pedro activating the Retrofitter Foundry to get a servo in play. We have an Ornithopter down as well, so Luis does not have any flyers, so that Ornithopter will be unblocked. And if Pedro has a Ninja to Ninjutsu, this is the time. We are going to see Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. So every time a ninja hits, he gets to do a reverse Dark Confidant ability. He gets to draw a card, reveal it, and have his opponent take damage equal to the converted mana cost. I did not see what the card was, but it looks like Luis took 3 damage, so it was probably converted mana cost 2. All right, we're casting another Elvish Reclaimer, tapping Dryad Arbor to play Elvish Visionary. This is enter the battlefield, draw a card. And a Birchlore Rangers. Perfect. You can tap 2 untapped elves to make any 1 mana of any color to his mana pool. But I think Luis is passing it back. He's only got 2 cards in hand. Elves really likes to combo off with a card we will probably see a little bit later. Wants to cast everything and then just go super wide and finish with a huge hit like Craterhoof Behemoth, or sometimes they grab Progenitus, or you can just use Allosaurus Shepherd if you have a ton of mana. All right, we're seeing a sacrifice of the Dryad Arbor, activating the Elvish Reclaimer ability, getting a Gaia's Cradle. Gaia's Cradle is, yes. Gaia's Cradle can tap itself a legendary land, does not count as a forest, but it can produce a green mana for each creature that's in play. So right now it's tapping for 6 green mana. So 6, 7, 8, 9 green mana available just from lands alone. And then Luis can tap those Birchlore Rangers, any number of elves, to get at least 2 more mana. But I think he's going for a swing out here. So this is 5 creatures coming in. Those Elvish Reclaimers are 3 2s, 3 4s right now, because there are 3 lands in the grave. So when he activates this Allosaur Shepherd, the static ability on the Elvish Reclaimer just says that it gets +2/+2 to its base stat. So that means that they will become 7/7s instead of 5/5s. All right, Pedro declaring blocks with the the Baleful Strix on the Allosaurus Shepherd. It has Death Touch, so that's going to get that threat out of there. But Pedro does take a significant amount of damage here. He declared blockers with that Ornithopter as well, and actually turned it straight into a 4/4 construct from the Retrofitter Foundry ability. So Pedro down to 4 life. Tries to cast a Brazen Borrower. Doesn't quite work because Brazen Borrower's Petty Theft ability or spell says that it bounces a non-land permanent back to its opponent's hand. Dryad Arbor being a land and a creature, so it cannot be targeted with Petty Theft. All right, we're here on Pedro's main phase. He's trying to think about what's going to happen here. Still staring down quite a bit of damage. Well, it is lethal, but it isn't lethal, and Luis has quite a few cards in hand, so kind of really worried about plays here. Okay, he's going to cast Murktide Regent. This is a newer card from Modern Horizons 2, basically a 2-mana XX. It does come in as a 3/3, but if you exile a number of instants and sorceries from your grave, then it grows with +1/+1 counters. As you can see here, Pedro's exile 2, so it is a 5/5. Okay, we have Endurance. That was a flash creature, 3/4, and now we have Glimpse of Nature. This is the combo portion of Luis's deck. Whenever he plays a creature spell, he draws a card. So every time he casts an elf, he gets to draw a card, potentially going super deep into the deck with all these 1/1s. And also having a Gaia's Cradle in play really makes this a very live play. Tapping the Birch Lore and the Heritage Druid for a Thoughtseize, revealing his hand, taking the Brazen Borrower, pretty much the only interaction that Pedro had at the time. A Crop Rotation to sacrifice the Gaia's Cradle to get another Gaia's Cradle, thus making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Casting Craterhoof Behemoth. This is going to end the game. They didn't count the damage up, but I did. It's 94 trample damage. So I don't think that Pedro had enough to block 90 damage worth to stay alive. So that's going to be the end of match 3, and Luis is going to take this one. Showing Progenitus here and just a little bit of sideboard tech. But thank you for joining us for the final match of round 2, and we'll see you in round 3.